Welcome to tonight's exciting shmooze talk tonight. I've been asked to dedicate tonight's class to a baby who needs help and a mother needs help. To Tinokas, the daughter of Naomi, the daughter of Brindle Nechama, and they both need help, the baby and the Naomi Bas Nechama. So Hashem should help them whatever they need to be healthy without problems. And they gave a big donation, I think, to the auction book. They're getting sponsors. So they're sponsoring one of the prizes in the auction book, and they asked that we mention their names tonight. That should be a schus and merit for their recovery. So we hope that Hashem, God will help them. They'll be healthy, the mother and the baby, everything should be okay. So we're holding, if you remember, Moshe Rabbeinu was just taken out of the Nile River. His mother put him there to hide him. And the daughter of Paro came down, and she became a tzaddikas, she became a righteous woman. She converted to be Jewish, and she found a baby, Moshe Rabbeinu. And like we said last week, they couldn't find somebody to nurse him. Finally got a Jewish woman who happened to be the mother. Miriam got the mother to come, and he nursed from her, and Abbas Paro told her, please take this baby for me and take care of him, and I'll pay you for your trouble, for what you're doing, until he's ready to come to my house. Of course, during those 2 years, Moshe Rabbeinu was in the house of his mother. They taught him all about Judaism. It wasn't like a regular 2-year-old baby. Moshe Rabbeinu was like a mature, almost mature person by then. And they taught him who he came from, whose father, his mother are. And but she had to keep the deal with the daughter of Pharaoh. When he became old enough, she brought him to the palace of Paro, and he became the son of Basia, the daughter of Paro. Quoting now, Vigda Hal Yelad, the boy grew, and she brought him, the Bas Paro, she brought him to the daughter of Paro, the mother who took care of him while he was still an infant and a baby. Vahilo Lovain, and became her son. Vatika Shmai Moshe. She called his name Moshe. Of course, there's a question over here. Did she call him Moshe? But she was Egyptian. Moshe is a Hebrew name. So how'd she call him Moshe? So some say that she learned the language. Since she became a convert to Judaism, she learned the holy language. And some say, no, she called him Egyptian Moshe. And the Torah is telling us, converting the name from Egyptian into Hebrew. It's a difference of opinion, exactly what happened. But the main thing is, why did she call him Moshe? Where does the name Moshe come from? We call it in English Moses. Moses doesn't mean anything. But the word Moshe in Hebrew means Hamayim Meshisihu, because I took him out of the water. Right? She found the boat cradle floating, and she took him, and she called him Moshe. We have here on the glossary sheet, number 1, Hilo Levain, became her son. She adopted him, and she called him Moshe. Now the question is, that's what the daughter of Paro, her adoption mother, called him. What did his mother call him? When he was born, what was he called by the mother? She was 3 months hiding him before she had and put him in that cradle boat. But what did she call him when he was born? She must have given him a name, obviously. She gave him the name Tovia. Tovia means good one, the good one of God, God's good one, Tovia. We have people called Tovia today also, Moshe and Tovia. The mother called him Tovia. The question is, we understand his mother called him Tovia because the house was full of light. I said last week, when he was born, the house was full of light when he was born. So she's Tovia, come to Hashem. You gave us somebody good present. But why did Bas Paro call him Moshe? She took him out of the water. That's the best you can think of. I mean, call him something. He's a star. He's a sun. He's something exciting name. Why did she call him in the Mamishitzi? I took him out of the water. She called him Moshe. Moshe means in Hebrew, I pulled him out. Why did she call him pulled him out? There's a very good reason for that. Because in some countries, they have a tradition that if a baby becomes sick and the doctor comes and saves the baby, the parents offer the doctor to take the baby home and take him for himself. Why? Because they say to the doctor, you saved him. If it wouldn't be for you, he'd die. The baby is very sick. And the doctor comes, gives him medicine, takes care of him, and now the baby's able to live. They offer the doctor the baby. He's yours, because if it wouldn't be for you, we wouldn't have him. So you kept him alive. So therefore, of course, the doctor says, thank you very much, whatever it is, but actually they you should take the baby, but they offer him. You deserve to have this baby, because you kept him alive. It wouldn't be for you, he wouldn't be here. So we are the parents, biological parents, but you are the one who, the reason for his existence right now. Bas Paro wanted to show, Vahil Avein is next to each other. It's her son. She wanted everybody to know that you should know that I have the right to have this baby to be my son, because I took him out of the water. If it wouldn't be for me, he would have died. He would have been in the water, nobody would take care of him, nobody wanted to. All of her servants said, no, don't save him, let him die. The Jewish baby, the king gave the decree, we don't want Jewish babies around, and everybody wanted to kill him. So she was the one who saved him. So she wanted everyone to know that I have the right to call him my son because I saved him. If it wouldn't be for me, he would have died. So therefore, she wanted to make sure that everybody knows that she has the right to adopt this child. And that's what she called him Moshe. I took him out of the water. If it wouldn't be for that, he'd be a goner. So the question is, okay, that's why she called him Moshe. His mother called him Tovia. But how about Moshe Rabbeinu? What name did he take for himself? Name Moshe. So now the question is, why? Let him take his mother's name. He had a choice. He could take his mother's name of Tovia or his adoptive mother's name of Moshe. Why did he choose to take the name of Moshe? It seems that Tovia is a much nicer name. Tovia, the good one of Hashem. And his own mother, his biological mother, called him Tovia. She was Cheved, the big tzaddikus. Of course, Pasi was also a tzaddikus. She converted and became a tzaddikus. But why did he adapt the name that his adoption mother gave him? So the answer is because we know, we have over here, and number 5. Number 4 is the question. What's the connection? She took him as a son, she took him out of the water. That's her reason to call him her son, because she saved him. And then it says, Moshe, number 6, Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah says, Edus, and it says the witness of Moshe Rabbeinu, God says, Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble person that there was and ever lived. Number 6. He was from all men the most humble person. That's an unbelievable thing. He was the greatest man, the most humble man. That seems like a contradiction. How could a person be so great, the greatest man who ever lived, and the most humble man that ever lived? It seems like it's a contradiction. How could a person be so humble for the greatest? But I'm not going into that right now. But he was the most humble person in the world. He wanted the name of Moshe because he wanted to always think to himself, look at the great thing that God did for me. If he took the name Tovia, the good one of Hashem, So that's not a humble name. It's like, oh, it's good with Hashem. And she wanted to take the name of Moshe because he wanted to remember that really he should have been dead now. He should have been. God did the great miracle to send down the Bas Paro, the daughter of Paro, at the right time. She should come down and find him. So he wanted to remember always the greatness of Hashem, the great miracle he did for him, that he was put in the water and he was saved. He should have been not existed after 3 months. He should have died because nobody would have wanted to take him. And if the Egyptians find him, they kill him right away, all the Jewish babies. So he wanted to remember himself all the time, humble himself to say, Hashem, I really shouldn't be living now because of your great kindness and your great miracle that you did for me. That's why I'm alive today. So he wanted to remember that all the time. The name Tovia, you never wouldn't remember that. I'm the good one of Hashem. Oh, good one of Hashem. Put him on the back. She says, man, Moshe, I should have been dead. And you did a miracle. They sent down Baspar to take me out and take care of me, and that's why I'm alive today. So therefore, he took the name Moshe. So everybody had the reason. His mother called him Tovia. Basi called him Moshe because she wanted to show that she has the right to make him her son. And he himself took the name Moshe because he wanted always to remember the great miracle that Hashem did for him. We have the name of our shmooze tonight. Do you ever think about what your Jewish name means to you? Well, a Jewish name means a lot. We're told by the great scholars that when a baby's born, if the parents are in the level of holiness, God puts into their mouth and their ideas what to name the baby. Every person has his own talents and his own capabilities of doing things in the world. And the name that he gets is an indication of who he really is. If he has the right parent who gives the right name, they are great enough for God to put that into their mouth. The name of the baby was something that is only, that name is proper for him to have that name, not a different name. If his name is Moshe, his name is Yaakov, his name is Avram. This is very upsetting today that people come up with new names all the time and not biblical names and not names of the family from before them. And they're missing this great thing of a name that a person has, that it's indication of what he is and what he is capable of doing. What he is and what capable of doing. And if you're named after a grandfather or grandmother who were great people, that name has an effect on them, that they could go in the ways of that great person they're named after. And today people come with these modern names they come up with. Some of them are even names of wicked people. They don't realize. People don't realize what the names they pick up a chumash and they give a name and they think it's a good name. Really, it's the name of a wicked person. That's really upsetting. So a person, before you give a name, I get calls all the time. I can be on the phone for an hour discussing what name to give to a child that was just born, because this reason, because that reason, whatever it is. A name is very, very important to give the right kind of name to a child. So we can't take it lightly. So the name of Moshe that he was given, it was perfectly befitting for him to get that name. He was pulled out of the water, and that's the name that he got, and that's the name he lived with, and he kept in mind his whole life that name Moshe, thinking that thank you God for saving my life, for sending Baspar to take me out of the water. So this is what happened at the beginning of his life. So, the Torah says further, he grew up and he went out to his brethren and he saw their hard work that they were doing. And Moshe Rabbeinu, he knew he was Jewish. He was brought up that way. His parents told him when he was in the house of the mother, the father, Amram and Yocheved, the great parents that he had, they made sure to know he knew he was Jewish. He was a Jewish boy. And he was now in the palace of Paro. If he wanted to, he could have just lived it up and forget about the fact that he's Jewish. He has a great life. Nobody's bothering him, not making him work. He's in the house of the king. But that's not Moshe Rabbeinu. He's not going to stay in the house of Pharaoh and live it up and have a good life and see all around him, all the Jewish people, that they're back-breaking work, that they're torturing them and doing all the terrible things, killing their babies, and so on. Vayetze Moshe went out, Elechav, number 7, Vayar b'sev loisam, and he saw the hard labor that they were involved with. Vayar, Rashi tells us, what's Vayar? He saw, it doesn't mean just saw a physical seeing. Number 8, Nosan ein lo v'libay liyas meitzeri moyim aleim. He saw, he stood by, and he felt terrible. He looked at his ain of his eyes and his heart he saw with. And he agonized over them. That here, that they have to do such back-breaking work, and they have no freedom, to slaves. And he made sure to go out, and just like they were miserable, he was miserable, seeing what's going on. He couldn't stand staying in Pharaoh's palace and living it up with the son of the king. And he could have had a very good, easygoing life. Nobody was making him go to work, but he didn't want to do that. He opted to go out and be together with his brethren and feel the pain that they're going through. We have number 9, a person, literally, to carry the yoke with his friend. A yoke means to put on an animal, a yoke that has to go to work. A person has a hard time, you go and help him out. You do what you can to. If you help him physically, you help him physically. If you help him spiritually, if you help him with their mental stage, with their whatever you could do to help them. Have the yoke with their friends, with everybody's. There's stories of great people who did things. They had a great right before the war. There's a great rabbi who came from Europe to America to get funds for his yeshiva, one of the famous yeshivas in Europe. It was right before 1939, right before the beginning of the war, beginning when Hitler was coming, Yamach Shmo, and he was starting his terrible decrees against the Jews, and people saw what's happening, and they begged him not to go back. They said, going back to the ovens, you know what's going to happen. Things are very bad in Europe. It's very dangerous, and you should stay here. Don't go back. He said, no, those people are under my direction. They're my people. He was the rabbi of that place. And he said, I'm going to stay in America and let them suffer. He went on the boat. There were no planes at that time. He went back, and he was taken out and shot by the Nazis afterwards. But he said, I'm not going to stay here. I'll stay in America now and let the other people suffer. They didn't know exactly what's going to happen to them, but it was not going to be good. They didn't know exactly how bad it's going to be at that time. But they knew it's not good, and they were begging him, don't go, stay here. We see things are happening bad over there. No, he refused to stay. He went back, and he suffered with them. He felt this is not the right thing. That I'll be in the king's palace, so to speak, in America, and those people that under my flock and people that are under my wings, that they should have to suffer. I'm their rabbi, I'm their leader, I'm their mentor, I have to be with them. I have to do what I have to do to go back. This is the way of the Jewish people to feel for our brethren brothers and sisters who are suffering, that we have to be part of them, be with them, and not sit back and enjoy life while other people are suffering. During that time, when the Germans were having a hard time and they started losing the war, they needed to raise funds to buy trucks and different things to be able to continue. And so they offered to ransom. The Jews would give money. Of course, they wouldn't give money for ammunition or weapons. They give money for trucks. So they would give a certain amount of Jews back if they gave them money to help them in their effort for the war. They came back to America. People went around collecting funds then. Even people kept Shabbos. They went around taxis and cars and going to shuls and making collections to save the Jewish people, to raise funds. It was a matter of life and death. So they, even Shabbos, great rabbis went around collecting funds and cars and whatever they could to go to the shuls with people together, and they collected as much as they could. They went ahead and they did whatever they can. Some people didn't do anything. They told people, we're in America now. Well, no, too bad. We're sorry for our Jews in Europe, but they're going through. But, well, listen, that's life. And that's not right. The great Jews that they did what they could to save whatever they could from the Germans. So this is Nois Vel Chaveira. We have to carry the yoke with our brethren. If they're in trouble, we're in trouble. It's not just us, not just them, it's us. We're all in this together. We have a famous story of a rabbi who came to the doctor. His wife was not feeling good. She had a pain in her foot, and they came to the doctor, and the rabbi said, we have a pain in our foot. Her foot, like, he felt so close to his wife. It's our foot. It's like her foot was his foot. A pain in our foot. The same with the Jewish people. We're being annihilated. We're being killed. We have to do something about it. Since the people in Europe who are thousands of miles away, we still have to feel part of it when people are suffering. Some people know somebody in the hospital, and they like people to visit them. Some people say, I can't visit, I can't stand to see people suffering. I can't go to the hospital. So what is a person? A nice person? You're very selfish. You can't see people suffering. You don't want to suffer. But people need you. If you go there, you make them feel better. Go visit them. So I say, I can't stand to see people suffering. So you're very selfish, if that's what you say. So suffer a little bit. Okay, you can't stand to see it. But how about the people suffering? They need somebody to come and give them some pep talk and liven them up and make them laugh a little bit, whatever it is. So even though it's difficult and you don't feel like doing it, that's Nois Vel Chaveira. Again, Nois Vel Chaveira. That's number 9. We have to carry that yoke to help other people, to put ourselves in their positions as much as we can to help them. Even if they can't help, but just the fact they see that we care about them, it helps people. So this Moshe Rabbeinu, he didn't take advantage of the comfort of the palace. He went out to his brethren, and he krecht, and he felt bad, and he sighed. He felt bad for them. And one time he went out, and he saw an Egyptian beating a Jewish person. He was beating a Jewish person. And he was very upset to see that. It's bad enough that they had to work hard, but getting beatings. So he wouldn't stand for that. So what did he do? He looked here and looked there. He saw there's nobody around, and he killed the Mitzri. He killed the Egyptian and hit him and buried him because he wouldn't stop beating the Jew. Now we're told, he looked here and there. What's here and what's there? This person, this Mitzri, was a very wicked person. Matter of fact, this Jew that he was beating happened to be the husband of the wife which he raped, this Mitzri, this bum, and he did that. The only time in the whole stay, the Jewish people in Egypt that there was a relation between a Nitzri and a Jewish woman. It was the only time that it happened. Even though they were slaves and they're downtrodden and they're under their influence, they kept away from the Egyptians. They didn't have the only baby that was born from this relationship was one baby that was born, which a whole terrible thing came out from this person later on. Forget that in the next few years, the story about what happened to this baby. But this is what he did, and he pretended to be her husband. We came to the house, and then the husband found out about it, and when he found out about it, he was very angry at the Mitzvah that Moshe, that this person found out, so he's beating him. So he didn't want him to know that what he did to his wife. So he's beating him. So Moshe Rabbeinu saw what he did in the house to him, what he did to his wife. He saw how he's beating him now, so he beat him too. Vayarki ein ish, and he saw there's no man. So the simple translation means he looked around to see if anybody's watching. Nobody's watching, so he gave it to the Egyptian. But Rashi tells us much deeper meaning than that. Vayarki ein ish, there was nobody. Number 13. Osid lotzes mimenu, she's Gayer. He looked into Moshe Rabbeinu was a prophet, and he looked into the future, and he saw that this man would have nobody good come from his children. If somebody good would come out from them, he wouldn't have done anything to him. He would have left him alone. It would have stopped him. He wouldn't have killed him. He would have stopped him from beating the Jew, but he wouldn't have made him die. But since he said nothing good's coming out in the future of his children, great-grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nothing good. Therefore, Yarki ein ish. There's nobody good coming out from this person. And look what he did to this Jewish person. He doesn't deserve to live. What he did to his wife, he's doing to the Jew, and therefore, Vayachas HaMitzvah. So this is something very important to know, that when God judges a person, he doesn't only judge the person for himself, but he looks into the future. There might be somebody who is a Rasha, is a wicked person. He doesn't deserve to them. Rosh Hashanah. Everybody comes in front of God's holy throne, and God looks into their account for that year. They find this way. He said, Russia, this guy was terrible. He doesn't deserve to live. He did so many bad things the whole year. He doesn't deserve to live. But what's going to come out of him? We see in the future generations that something good's going to come out of him. So if that's the case, we're going to leave him alone, because something good's going to come out in the future. So God looks into the past and the future. The future can save a person from a bad decree from heaven if something good's going to come out. But you might be a child, a grandchild, great-grandchild, but that is enough to save a person from a bad decree from Hashem. So Moshe Rabbeinu goes in the ways of God. If he would have seen somebody good coming out of him, he never would have hit the Mitzri and killed him. He didn't hit him, by the way. He will say that he killed him by a different way, not by hitting him. We'll see, maybe next week we'll talk about it. But he wouldn't have done it if he saw something good coming out of him. So this is what a very important lesson we're learning from these psukim. How to look at our Jewish nation, look at our Jewish people that are suffering. We have to pray for them and help them and feel for them. And realize people are in trouble, that we can't push it off and say, well, that's life, that's their problem. I got my problems, they have their problems. No, their problem is our problem. Any problem a Jew has is a problem for all of us. We just have to see what we can do for the person. We have to feel bad for him and see if we can help them in any way, physically, monetarily, and whether it's spiritually or mentally, or any way that we can. We have to put ourselves into their life and realize that we're all one. We got to do what we got to do. Moshe Rabbeinu showed us that, and we go in the footsteps of all great people afterwards. One Jew is in trouble, we're all in trouble. We have to see what we can. So, Rabbi David, we're ready for any questions. Are we going to talk about the Shabbos next week? Or supposed to? Huh? Moshe Rabbeinu? Huh? Oh, yeah. Because of that. We have Moshe Rabbeinu. We mentioned Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, and the Shabbos prayers. Why? Because Moshe went to the king of Pharaoh and told him, the Jews are working 7 days a week. That's no good. They have to have 1 day of rest. 7 days a week, they have to have time to recover, to be able to get their strength again. So Paro said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So Moshe said, give them off Shabbos. So Moshe got the Jewish people to keep Shabbos, so therefore we mention them in our prayers. So here we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, about how he helped the Jewish people. But one way is not so known about, what I'm mentioning now. He helped them very much by giving them a day off every week on Shabbos, which was a great thing for them. So maybe next week we might talk about Shabbos, since Moshe Rabbeinu did that for them.
Okay, we have questions. So we're going to take questions. No, you have to wait for the mic, and then we'll repeat your question.
I wasn't here last week, but you said that the daughter of the Pharaoh converted to Judaism. Or
The daughter of Pharaoh converted.
Yeah.
Yes.
But how can it be the Hebrew slave? So the Hebrew were slaves. So how the Pharaoh accept his daughter conversion?
Her question is, the Jews were subjugated by the Egyptians. How did Pharaoh react to his daughter's conversion?
Well, number one, she probably kept a secret from him. I doubt if he knew that she converted, he probably would have gone into rage. He probably didn't realize it, even though he knew he had a Jewish child growing up in this palace. But since his daughter wanted it, so he did so either he loved his daughter so much he let her do what she wanted, or she kept it a secret. I'm not sure. I don't know of any source to prove whether he knew about it or not.
She's saying the word Jew. How did you become a Jew before the Torah was given?
Well, the Jews had a lot of laws that they kept before the Torah was given. And they kept a lot of the laws that they knew from Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the patriarchs, knew from God different laws of the Torah, and they kept it on their own. They weren't commanded yet to do it, but did it on their own free will, before the Torah was given. And therefore, a lot of the laws were being kept before. And she wanted to become part of that. So she became, whatever they were keeping, she was keeping. It's a good question.
Okay.
אם השם שאתה נולד איתו, שאתה מקבל כשאתה נולד, הוא מאוד חשוב, למה יהודים נותנים 2 שמות לילדים שלהם? שרה מלכה, יצחק משה, why not only one name?
The question is why we give only one name, or why we give 2 names? Why some people give 2 names if they only gave 1 name each?
Well,
okay, generally the Moshe had a bunch of names, so we don't call him Tuvia Moshe or Moshe Tuvia, although
it's 7 names. It's 7 names.
So
Avigdor, Yeret, Tovia, Moshe. What's the other ones? We say about Simchas Torah. We say all his names. He had a lot of names.
The question is, we don't call them by all 7 names. We call him. We say either Moshe or Avigdor or Tovia, or we don't call him by any of those names. But we said a lot of people tend to have double names today. So why do you have double names?
People have double names today because they have different relatives that they're named after. So they want to name after the wife's side, the husband's side, or so they give different names. At those times, they didn't have grandparents yet to give names to so many names. They were the ones that started off with the names. Avram didn't want to give Terach. The people before them were not tzaddikim, most of the people. So they didn't give double names because there were no double names to give, really. But now we have so many Jewish names, so many relatives of tzaddikim. We have, so therefore people want to be able to name them as many as ancestors as possible. Because the Sephardim call names after people who are still alive even. They do. Ashkenazim only give names after people that are not alive. But there's some people who give names after today, so that's why we have, some people have 3 or 4 names even. Because they want to make sure, Shalom Bayit, that there shouldn't be an argument in the family. This part of the family says, well, this name, this part, this name. So they give it all the names to satisfy everybody. But they didn't have those times. They didn't have those all those names. They're the ones who started the names. Avram started the name. Yitzchak started the name.
Okay, we have an online question. Our forefather Abraham, you were talking about, they had certain mitzvahs that they kept. Our forefather Abraham had some guests, and he served them milk and he served them meat in the same meal. is that because he didn't have the laws yet of kashrus, or what?
Well, no, it says he gave the milk first and then the meat. He didn't allowed to eat. You can't eat milk after meat, but you can eat after milk. So he gave first the milk, which is very quick to arrange. It took time to cook the meat, so he wanted to give them something in the meantime. So he gave them milk things that are easy to prepare.
I think we should clarify that. That means they could have an ice cream and then eat a steak sandwich?
Yes, as long as you wash out your mouth in between, eat something in between, you could do that right afterwards, yes.
As long as you wash out your mouth. Hold on, a question in the
Eat
back,
after
and I'll
milk.
get to you.
Some people don't eat the same meal, but it's not a Torah law.
How old was Moshe Rabbeinu when he killed the Egyptian? And how long afterwards did he have to flee?
He was, how old was when he killed the Mitzri?
Okay, the question was how old was Moshe? You have a timeline question here. How old was Moshe when he killed the Egyptian, and how old was he? How long was it till he had to flee Egypt?
Many years. At least 40 years. It must be around, I think.
Between then and when he had to flee Egypt.
Oh, a few days, next day. Had to run.
No, how old was Moshe, first of all?
When he killed the Mitzri, I believe it says he was 40 years old. And then he ran away for 40 years, and he came back, and then he went in the midway for 40 years.
I have a question. I'm not sure that I understood what you said about the names, that one should stay with the name that he was given, like from his parents. Was that what you say?
Question is, did a person stay with the name they got from their parents or switch their names?
Well, if it's a name of a Russia, of a wicked person, they should change the name. Some people call the name Nimrod. They call it in Israel. They call him Nimrod. Nimrod was a very, very terrible Russia. So therefore, they should change the name from Nimrod to a Jewish name.
The reason why I'm asking is because there are some people, well, that I know personally, but not, even generally, that they have they feel like they don't have luck in life and their life is not very well, so they go to rabbis and they tell them to add a name or to replace, to change the name. What do you think about that?
Okay, change your name to change your fortune. What does Rabbi Mintz have to say?
You're talking about somebody who's not well, a sick person, a person who has a very terrible something wrong with them. So they add a name. Sometimes they don't change the name. They add a name onto the name that they already have. In that case, I'm talking about a case where a person was given the name of a wicked person, and like Nimrod or Aviram or these people that were wicked. They sound good, but people don't realize that they're names of Rishoyim, of wicked people, and they should change the name. They shouldn't keep that name.
In the days of old, we were allowed to have 2 wives. What happened?
Okay, somebody would like to have 2 mothers-in-law, I see. Anyway, the question is, in the olden days, originally biblically, you were allowed to have a man was allowed to have 2 wives. Why do we not have that practice today? Besides the fact that it's illegal in the
Well,
United States.
the Sephardic community, they still don't have any law against having 2 wives. And Ashkenazim, that was stopped by Rabbeinu Gershom about 1,200 years ago that he lived, and he made a ban on 2 wives and some other things that he came up with that he wanted people to keep. But it's not Torah law, it's not rabbinic law, it's a minhag, a tradition that was accepted by the Jewish people, the Ashkenaz people, they accepted it. We have to understand that people, 2 wives, even the Sephardic community, they don't just marry 2 wives like that. Sometimes they have a problem, a wife can't have any children, or she's very sick or something like that. That's when they have 2 wives. But not just like this to have 2 wives, that they don't do that either. Because sometimes they have a problem. If an Ashkenazi marries a Sephardi, and the woman is afraid that she's Ashkenazi and he's Sephardi, he's afraid she'll marry another wife. So they usually write in the ksuva that he said, I won't marry another wife, don't worry. So it's not a law. It's a tradition accepted by the Ashkenaz community and not by the Sephardic community. And sometimes it's called a heter meir rabbanim. Sometimes a wife who is very sick and not able to function, that they find 100 rabbis sign a document that he's allowed to marry somebody else if she is so sickly that he can't live with her any longer. So it's considered permitted to marry another wife under such circumstances. So, but it was not, in the days of old, people didn't marry two wives for no reason. They had a good reason to do it otherwise. But we mentioned before, sometimes the wives liked it. You have two people in the house to do the housework and take care of someone. There's advantages of having more than one wife. And some wives didn't mind too much having two wives.
Okay. What? I can't take care of one? I was about to say, I think it's mutual.
I'd just like to mention that any wife questions, all rights are reserved by Rabbi Reichman. Nobody else may ask any questions about wives. Thank you.
Just imagine if Rabbi Reichman was arguing with two wives.
Or double the amount of questions. My question is, there was recently a poll, and what is the average time a human being spends in the restroom? And that is 92 days. And most people, throughout their life, you spend 92 days out of your life in the restroom. And so most people, most probably they read, and my question is that okay? And if it's not, is it, or even if it's not so acceptable, should you train your kids not to read in the bathroom?
That question is pretty clear. DU chat. It's a DU chat question. The question is, when raising your children, should you hide all the books in the bathroom, or should you let them read in the bathroom?
Well, as Jewish people, we are very, very particular, and we consider time very sacred. Time is very sacred, and we don't want to waste time, because a person living this world doesn't live that long, 70 years, 80 years, 100 years, 120 years, but compared to eternity, it's like a click of the finger. So we don't have too much time in our lives to live, and we want to make sure that we do the utmost to use our time wisely. So therefore, people go into the bathroom and spend so much time there reading or whatever they're doing there. Some people have TVs in their bathroom, they have internet in the bathroom, and they're wasting time. You can't think of words of Torah in the bathroom, now they have holy thoughts in the bathroom. So people who want to use their time wisely, we tell them, don't waste your time in the bathroom. Just stay there as long as you have to. Don't waste more than that. It's a waste of time. Therefore, we should train our children. You can't say don't read, but don't read excessively. Don't waste your time there. Just what is necessary to be there, but get out and be productive. Learn Torah, do mitzvahs, do good kind acts, do things that are productive, and don't waste time over there, that not necessarily.
Okay,
That
moving
goes
on.
for children and adults. We don't want to waste time. We want to use time the best way, to the maximum of the use of time that we can be able to do.
Okay. We have an online question. I became observant several years ago, and now I'd like to get married. I met with a shadchan, a matchmaker, and I asked her, I was talking to her, and she asked me what kind of girl I'd like. An ultra-Orthodox girl, a modern Orthodox girl, modern Orthodox machmir, modern Orthodox liberal, modern Orthodox middle of the road, heterodox. What is this all about? And what am I supposed to answer? I just want a plain, normal Jewish girl. Plain old. Not plain old Jewish
Plain
girl.
old.
Right. Plain old. Right.
Not in years.
Plain
Not-
old.
Not in years. Well, I don't see what the problem is. I think the shadchan is very to the point.
He's confused by the labels. He doesn't know what they mean.
Oh.
He doesn't know what they're talking about.
Oh, so should ask the shadchan what it means. I should tell him what it means now.
What?
We're supposed to tell him now what it means.
I think that was the question, but maybe
Well,
we should.
Generally speaking, a person who wants to get married has to marry somebody that's the right that sees eye to eye and life. Somebody that's somebody to get along with, and should be able to have a happy life together. If a person marries somebody who's different level of religion than they are, it could cause problems. So you want to marry somebody who generally is the same level of religion as the man and the wife, in order that they should get along. Some people like to get a little bit more religious than them, to bring them up to a higher level of religion, or to work together to go higher in religion. But generally speaking, the shadchan is right by asking what type of shidduch you want, what type of man you want, what woman you want, what level of religion do you want to go out with and marry eventually, in order to have peace in the home and be able to get along with each other. So the different levels of this modern Judaism and strict Judaism and middle-of-the-road Judaism, and you want to marry the one who is going to be your type of person that you'll be able to get along with and have peace in the home. So that's what the shadchan was asking. These are all different levels of Judaism, that these words that were mentioned, and you got to get your level. First, you have to decide what level you're on, what name you get. You have to know name fits what name that were mentioned, and then you find out the person that you want to marry is the same bracket, the same category.
Should a person seek to marry up?
What?
Should a person seek to marry somebody higher than them?
I said some people like a little bit higher than them in order to bring them to a higher goal or the higher level of religion. Some people don't want that. Some do want that. It's a very nice thing. The person wants to grow and get closer to Hashem, closer to God, get married and have a home which is a Torah home, a high standard Torah home. That's a wonderful thing. The higher the standard, the better. But not to put on a shoe that's too big, like the Gemara says, talking about marriage, don't put a shoe on your foot that's too big. In other words, you want to put the shoe that fits. But the person who puts a shoe that doesn't fit, you're not comfortable. The same way, by marrying a person has to fit to your type of lifestyle. And not that you should be happy with it.
Okay. Questions in the room? Oh, wait, we have a question in the back. Somebody didn't ask yet.
This is from the DU chat. I'm kidding.
What was that?
No. My question is, Rabbi Mintz mentioned before that it's a sad thing, something about modern names just being chosen and not using biblical names. So is there a difference between choosing a name nowadays that might not be part of the tradition? Is there a difference between doing that and like Yiddish names? Do Yiddish names have any significance to them?
Okay, the question is, Rabbi Mintz? Yes.
Yeah, today you were saying that people shouldn't change their names. It seems that there's certain great rabbis that you go into them and they'll tell you to change your name because the name is not biblical or it's not Hebrew, and I think they're just following up on that question, right?
That's not.
And that rabbi's name isn't biblical either. And that rabbi's name isn't biblical either. So that's part of the question. So the question really is, what makes a name a name? Rabbi Mintz said that there are some names that are good, some names are not good. So I understand you don't name your kid Haman because you don't want him to be a pharaoh.
Well,
because you don't want them to be. But not every name is Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. You have Reizas and Henshes and Crunches and Shiras and Fegalas and all sorts of other names that are and labels, and you have all sorts of names that seem to not be biblical that have been accepted by the Jewish people.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between that and Catherine? I don't know.
No, between a Hebrew name and a Yiddish name.
I'm saying what's the difference between a Yiddish name and an English name?
What?
I'm asking what the difference is between a Yiddish name and an English name.
But I have been told also that my name is Yiddish. It should be changed to a Hebrew name.
Okay.
So is that so?
Barbara was told to change her Yiddish name to a Hebrew name, and
No.
this is going all the different directions.
Okay. So the answer is like this, that most of the Yiddish names are taken from Hebrew names, like Golda, Zahava, they call it Zahava, gold, but it's, the main thing is that there were people in a person's family who had the name Golda, let's say, and they were great people, from a people, Erlich people, God-fearing people. So even though the name in itself is not biblical, but it comes like a biblical name, since the people who had the name, they are people who were God-fearing people, so therefore that name gets a yichus to it, it gets a cheshivas to it, importance to it, from the people who had the name. So even though it's not a biblical name, it's like a biblical name, since it goes back in the family or to other people that were great, and therefore it's considered a very good name. To start a new name right now, which is not biblical and not in the family, since it's a whole new name, there's nothing for it to go to fall back on. So this way, we call it a Yiddish name, because many people called that name, were very fine people that were very God-fearing, and therefore the name has something, very basis to it, and has importance to it.
Okay, one of the other questions that came up was that there's certain rabbis say that certain names aren't names.
Well, the great rabbis, so they have a right to say what they're saying. I mean, the great rabbis. I mean,
How was the name Goldust? That was the first one that got it. How was she able to get that name?
Rabbi Reichman wants to know how the first Golda got her name, and for that matter, where does the name Zahava come from?
because, no, Zahava is from Golda, because she was a golden mensch. She was a big tzaddikus. Therefore, they called Golda, or they look forward to having a person that David cheshivas to it. So they gave these names, but they had a reason for it, why they gave the name. It was something that either a great person gave it, and therefore, but the person who gave the name in the beginning was somebody who was special, outstanding, and since he gave that name, it gets a certain importance to it, since it was given by the right person.
Yes. And I want to know what title means. She's the oldest daughter. Hold on one second.
שבת, כשאני מדליקה נרות שבת, אסור להדליק אש אחר כך. אם יש לי אורחת שהיא גם רוצה להדליק נרות שבת.
Could you speak in English, please?
Okay, on Shabbat, when I light a candle, I cannot light a fire anymore, correct?
Right.
אני מקבלת את השבת. But if I have a guest that would like to light the candles as well, how can we do it? If she light the candles, basically I cannot light my candles, or the opposite. So is there a way that something that we're supposed to do?
Okay, so she has company. She's accepting Shabbat when she lights the candles. So now she's assuming that her guest can't light the candles, and if her guest lights candles, she can't light candles. So how do they work this out?
No. When you light your candles, she lights her candles.
When you light your candles, you're accepting Shabbos on yourself, not on her. It's not Shabbos in the house, it's Shabbos on you. It's Shabbos on you, it's not Shabbos on the house.
Getting back to names, is Basya, is that Batya? Same thing?
Yes.
So isn't that a Hebrew name of
Yes.
Pharaoh's daughter?
Paskot, the daughter of God. That's
Yeah,
Paskot. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
Hebrew name.
it's a Hebrew name.
Oh, could have stayed with Bela. Anyway. Yes, sure.
I was told that if you name somebody after two different people, it's a conflict to the souls that they were named after. Is that true?
Okay,
What was
tough question. Complicated question. That if you name somebody after two different people, it can cause a conflict. It causes a conflict between those two souls. So you should only name a person, after one name.
I never heard of such a thing. I can't tell you.
Okay, there are some people that say that if you name after two people, you named after nobody, right? So there's all sorts of opinions. I think this is
People do that, and they don't seem to feel there's a problem.
All right, Reichman has a question. Folks, quiet down and tune in. It's the last question of the night, I think. Rabbi Reichman gets the...
Why? It's only 26 after. Except
By the time Rabbi Reichman finishes his question, it'll be 35.
Rabbi Mintz mentioned earlier that during World War II, when the Nazis were short on funds for their war efforts, say they gave the opportunity for some Jews to ransom, save other Jews, so they should have more money to kill other Jews. So I'm wondering, why is it correct? I'm assuming if they're taking money and they're letting them ransom a Jew, they're probably going to take that money and kill, if not a few more, tens more, you know.
Well, I mentioned that because they didn't give them weapons. They gave them trucks. They didn't give them money. They gave them trucks, things that they can't use directed for war.
They didn't give them money. Didn't give them money for them to be able to.
No, they bought them trucks. They gave them things that the supplies.
Had they given them money?
I think he's saying it. When you use money to kill other Jews, that wouldn't be. They didn't do that.
Okay, Rabbi Reichman's question was quick, so we have time for another question. We have an online question that I'll ask as I walk up to the front. That is, it's very interesting. Like during this past Hebrew month, all the Chagim were squished together, and now we have a month without any festivals. Why did God do that? Why did He not space them evenly? You know, first of all, it's good for the diet that way.
Well, actually 2 months. Chanukah is the end of Kislev. Actually, 2 months. Yeah. So the simple reason is because since we had the whole month of Tishrei, starting Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah, so those were such great days of spirituality, concentrated spirituality, concentrated, and those special days, even starting from Elul, the month before, the whole month of Elul is a warm-up for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. So those days were supposed to reach such a level of spirituality, and now God's saying, okay, now we have 2 months until Hanukkah, let's see what you're going to do. Are you change your life? Are you being different? Are you being different than you were before? So that's God. He gave us 2 months. Now I gave you 2 months of spirituality. Now I want to see how you're going to act afterwards. And that's why you have these, till Hanukkah, God gives us this time. He's looking at us. Hanukkah is actually, according to the Kabbalists, it is a really end of the holidays, of the 2 months till Hanukkah. So God is telling us, okay, I gave you this, now you did Yom Kippur, you did Tshuva, you took upon yourself to change, to do different. Let's see, I want to see you change. I'll give you these 2 months till Hanukkah to see how you're going to act. And this is why you have to be careful that we shouldn't be falsely doing Tshuva on Yom Kippur and keeping all the holidays, and then we turn around as if nothing happened. That's no good. We have to keep in the spirit of those holidays, those festivals until Hanukkah, and show God that we really mean what we took upon ourselves. To be better people, to give more charity, keep Shabbos a little bit, keep kosher a little bit, whatever we didn't do till now, to do a little bit more, and show Him that these 2 months that we're really serious about what we talked about on the wonderful holidays that went by.
Okay, any more questions? Going once? Okay. Mazal.
Since we still with names, what you do when you have a name that you really hate, you don't like it at all, but for respect of the parents, you have to do it. You have to give the name. And they don't want to add another name.
So the question is, you have a name that you really don't like, or I would add, a name that the kid will really be made fun of. A very unusual, strange name that sounds funny and that's not common. But for the respect for the parents, especially with a Sephardim, when the parents are still alive, and they know, when they're dead, they still know, but certainly when they're alive and they know, they get offended. So what are you supposed to do? Well, and the parent doesn't want you to add a name because that's not their name anymore.
I'm not going to answer for Sephardic people. You have to ask a Sephardic rabbi about that. What the tradition is, how to handle that. I don't know how to handle that by Sephardim if they name that you don't like so long. By Ashkenazim, they only name after somebody who's deceased and not alive anymore. I tell a lot of people that say to me, that name, I can't stand that. I said, in 3 days, you'll love the name. The baby has the name, you'll see right away. And everybody who did, they say, you're right. If after a few days the baby's so cute and so nice, whatever name you give him, it's a good name. But it's told by, if it's a name that the child would be embarrassed from, then you're not supposed to give it. And many parents give a tzavah Tzava means that when they're alive, they give an
Ethical will.
Huh?
A will, an ethical will.
Ethical will, I call it ethical will. And they say, don't name your child after me. I went through enough embarrassment with that name. In Vichnem, in Yentl, all kinds of different funny kind of names. And they say, please don't name after that my parents called me that name. I was embarrassed. I don't want my grandchildren to have to go through embarrassment. When people give that in their will. But if it's a name that people really don't like, you don't have to call them by that name. But usually, if you call the name, like I said before, it doesn't take long before there comes a beautiful name, because the baby just makes it feel different. How about ending up with saying the story about Rabbi Chaim Mintz, about collecting for the Jews, and he went to the shul, and he one word, and it wasn't. No, it was from Rabbi Chaim Mintz. Yeah. So I forget the name of the word that he said. I'll have to say next week. We'll have to say that story.
Stay tuned. There's a story coming next week.
Yeah.
And okay, we want to give a shout out to the whole crew that was here last week, and Yosef Hartstein was here this week, upgrading our camera and our audio. Thank you very much. The audio is much improved. I think everybody here is much better now. I know I do.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
live
much
stream is
better.
doing much better, and we have a nice camera up there. And we hope to see you all next week. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody. Hope to see you all. And bring your friends next week. Talk about Shabbat.
Come and bring your friends.
And bring your friends. If not your friends, you can bring them also if you're not your friends.